So anyway, what I'm going to be doing is simply leading while the wonderful workers in and around academia who are supporting mothers are just going to share their projects. I have the great privilege of being able to read their applications. And so I do know why we picked these projects. I know why they are so wonderful. I know why it's so hard actually to make the choices. Really fine distinctions sometimes between first place and second place, and even people that aren't here at all as part of the panel. Just really amazing work is happening that I hope we can all be inspired by and maybe take home with us to our own places of work and think about the kinds of changes that are happening in their localities and think about what things we can do to move the needle. You know, we can't fix everything, though we want to, but how can we move the needle in the right direction for mothers in academia? So we are first going to hear from Melissa Crow and Diana Mendez. They are from James Cook University, all the way from Australia to be with us here. They may get that award as well for the furthest travel. So Melissa is the head of the cohort doctoral studies program, and Diana is a current mentor in the program. And Melissa is going to start us off by just describing their project and you know, all the great things about it. While she does that, I am going to be flipping through some slides. We do have some IAMAS made slides of first place winners, but then also sometimes we have slides from the folks themselves. So I'll just be kind of flipping through the slides as we go. If you need me to, well, I don't think you'll need me to move, but if you need me to, just let me know.
Yeah. So thanks, Nicole, very much for that introduction and for chairing the session this evening. Dr. Diana Mendez and my team and I are really excited and honoured to have won this award, the Making Opportunities for Mothers in Academia Award. And we very much thank Katie Garner and IAMAS and her team for organising both the award and the conference. And I'd also like to start by paying respects to the traditional owners of the lands in which we're meeting on today, and also the lands back in beautiful North Queensland in Australia where we're from, and that's the Walgarugabar and Bindal peoples, and pay respect to their elders past, present and emerging. And I'd also like to thank and acknowledge Sarah Jackson, who's online with us today. Sarah's one of our wonderful mums in our cohort program. And without Sarah, we wouldn't be here. She nominated us for this award, and we thank her very much for that. And I'd also like to acknowledge our financial sponsor, the Roderick Trust from James Cook University. I myself am a mother of 4 beautiful, lovely daughters, Sarah, Jessica, Charlotte and Matilda, and Diana is the mother to another lovely daughter, Maya. And I often find myself having a conversation with my daughters, and they'll attest to this, I'm sure, about how important education is. And we heard just yesterday in one of the talks how the single biggest predictor of outcome for children from solo parents families is how educated the mother is. So we know that's really important, and it's been really great yesterday and today to be immersed in the conference and hearing so much about supporting and retaining mothers in academia. It's really important. So I run the cohort doctoral studies program, as Nicole just mentioned, at James Cook University. And the program's aimed at supporting working health professionals to undertake research degrees. And in the caring professions, the majority of people are female. And we certainly see this reflected in our program, with the majority of our candidates being female. And it just coincides in life that often the time that they're thinking about undertaking a research degree lines up with the time that they've got a young family or they're thinking about starting a family. And our candidates tend to be working, either part-time or full-time, raising a family and doing a research degree. So these amazing mums that achieve so much, and we're really honoured really to be able to support them. So you can see from our slide some of the successes of our candidates. So far we've had 30 mothers of school age children or younger who have graduated with a Master's of Philosophy or PhD degree. And we have another 32 who are currently enrolled in the program. And you can see from the number of publications that they've had and the grant money income that they've achieved, how successful they've been. And some of the key aspects of the program, basically what we do is take around about 10 to 15 candidates into each cohort group, and we take 2 groups each year. And we offer residential block weeks on campus twice a year with them. So they come together as small interacting groups. And we run workshops, research education workshops, cohort student conferences, and writing retreats during those block weeks. We've got a big push for publishing as they go through their degrees, and that's reflected in that publication outcome that I've just mentioned. But probably some of the key important aspects of the success of the program is really the peer learning and the peer interaction and the peer support that happens when we bring these groups together. So they're quite experienced working professionals, and they bring all of that knowledge and experience with them into the program. And this also extends to supporting each other, balancing all of those demands that they have on their time. So not only their research degrees, but the working and the family demands. So we find that quite often the conversations turn to how is it that they can balance all of this in their lives and achieve. So I think that peer support that they have with each other is a really key factor. And probably one of the other key factors that we have is the academic mentoring support. So Diana and I work as academic mentors, supporting the candidates, and I have 4 other part-time staff who've all got very different research backgrounds and skills. And so we provide advice around research processes, but we also provide pastoral care and support, which I think is really important. I often point out to them, particularly for the part-time enrolled students, that they're going to be with us for 6 or 7 years of their life. There's going to be ups and downs in their personal life, and whether it's the birth of a baby or a divorce or whatever it is, that we're going to help support them through those major life events. And so that's probably another key part of our program is just being able to talk through those major life events and be able to keep their research going while we're doing or experiencing all those life events. So that's probably the key parts of the program. I'll leave Diana to say a little bit more in a few moments. But I thought I'd just leave you with a quote from one of our candidates. So this is from a mother of 2 children, aged 2 and 5, who is located in one of the remote communities in Queensland. And she said in some feedback for us, the cohort program is creative in finding solutions to problems that are encountered that include the consideration of families. The cohort doesn't see that we have a small children as a deficit. They champion it and make parents who study feel like they are needed just as we are with small children, and that being a parent is actually a benefit.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. As I said, I already knew how great these were, right? I already knew. It's so exciting to be able to share this. So next we're going to hear from, is it Orianne Smith?
Yeah, it's Orianne. Thank you.
Okay, from Orianne Smith. And then the team is also Lindsay Johnson, Joanna Gatsby, and Nancy Kuzmal from the University of Maryland in Baltimore County. Orianne is chair of the Faculty Caregiving Advisory Committee, which has created a caregiving toolkit for new administrators and chairs. They earned 2nd place in the university level award this year, and I'm excited to hear about their project efforts and successes. But before they begin, I just want to say that they did share the toolkit, and I actually think if with permission, it would be wonderful, Orianne, if we could send that maybe to an email list of people that are present here. Is that it? Is that it?
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely. Feel free. Yes.
Of enthusiasm for that. So Summer, would you be able to collect? I think people should put their emails in the chat as well. And then we'll figure out a way in this room to collect them. But I think the toolkit, I'm sure there may be other things as well, possibly including the slideshow. But if you're interested in having things sent to you, you know, maybe we'll figure out a way to get everybody's email. Oh, yes.
If you'd rather not share your email publicly, feel free to email me.
Okay.
I think everybody has an email address at this point.
Sure.
Message it to Summer or on the Slack channel. There's a lot of different ways. So if you don't feel comfortable sharing your email publicly.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Katie. If you, yeah, but if you wanted to get it in the original email going out, if you privately send it to Summer through the chat, then she would just give it to me and I will only use it for this. So,
Yeah.
But Katie as well. I am sorry. I just was so excited about your toolkit. So I totally, I usurped you there, Orianne, but now we're very excited to hear about your project.
No, thank you. Usurp away. That was, it's good to have a little bit of excitement. You know, I'm just looking at myself on the screen thinking, oh my God, please why don't you put the other slide on? You know, I guess, you know, we're also used to seeing ourselves online, right? But I'm like, oh gosh, huge picture. Avert eyes. Yeah. So, you know, I'm Orianne. And as Nicole said, I'm the chair of the Faculty Caregiving Advisory Committee at our university, which is University of Maryland, Baltimore County. So, and, you know, thank you, Nicole, for hosting us, and thank you, you know, thank you to us for, I was really exciting to look at all the awards, and I'm thrilled that we're a part of this. So actually, I'm going to quickly go through, talk about the background, and then I'm going to hand it off to my team members to talk a bit, to talk you all through what we've been doing leading up to this toolkit, right? And I'm sorry to say that Dr. Lindsay Johnson won't be joining us, but I do have my my committee members, Dr. Kazmal and Dr. Gadsby with me. So, so just, you know, just quickly, just some background on how this committee even came to be. It was created to support faculty caregivers during COVID, and, you know, really, as you can all, as everyone can, everyone who teaches can relate. When we all went online in the spring of 2020, and we're like, okay, we'll do that thing. But then over the summer, we were developing classes that were going to be all online, and that was colliding in a very obvious way with people, like their kids are, you know, going to be in school, and just grappling with that. We were getting a lot of, and I was a faculty senate president at that time, and so I was getting a lot of anxious emails, like, what is happening? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And so at that point, we went to, I went with the director of the Women's Center to the provost and said, you know, something's got to give. Like, we need some support, in place for these caregivers. And luckily for us, he was very sympathetic. And so that's the sort of the genesis of the caregiving committee. So what we did was we started out. So he gave us a charge. He said, well, just, you know, do some research, come back and let us know what recommendations you have for senior leadership, and we will do what we can to implement those changes. So we, our committee, so now in the spring of 2021, we held a series of listening sessions and a survey, like, you know, for people who, you know, busy caregivers who can't possibly go to a listening session, right? But, you know, but they wanted to have their voices heard, and we heard from a lot of people. And the point behind this was, you know, well, what is happening with you now, and then also, you know, what do you think that you need from the university to be able to do your work, you know, now and in the future, right? And I have to say, I mean, that it was really I think we all left with tears in our eyes listening to what people were really going through. And in fact, I remember in some of the listening sessions, kids would run in, right, and someone would be like, I thought I carved out some time, I'm in the basement. It was evident what everyone was going through. So yeah, I mean, and what you can imagine is what, so what they said, they were worried about being able to do their research. These are junior faculty members who, in order to keep their jobs, have to do, whatever it is in their discipline for tenure, for promotion and tenure, et cetera. And but then also too, some faculty said, yes, I have a really supportive chair that, he or she just let me, accommodated. Others had less supportive chairs, right? And so that was the part that we were like, wait, what? And one faculty member even said, I'm afraid to even let people know that I'm a mom because I'm afraid I'm going to be mommy tracked, right? And so it was. So I think what came out of it was not just, oh, people are suffering now, but that this was a systemic problem that was happening even before the pandemic. And it's just that it made it crystal clear when our work and lives collided in this way. So that gave us some ideas about what we could do to help these folks. So I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, Joe, Dr. Gadsby, and then maybe Joe can walk you through some of the recommendations that came out of these outreach sessions. Joe?
Thanks, Marianne, and thanks for the promotion. Dr. Gadsby is my spouse, but I'll take it. My name is Joe Gadsby, and I use she, her pronouns. And being on this committee has been a really valuable experience, particularly because we have such strong leadership with Orianne and the previous director of the Women's Center, Jess Myers. They really have kept this going, and I so appreciate everything that they have done. And this collective effort really gave us something concrete to do to feel like we were helping our fellow faculty. So after the listening sessions, we put together a report, and in that report, there was a list of recommendations, and some of those recommendations were eligibility for tenure clock extension for those who may need it, eligibility for startup funds extension, anyone who was going up for tenure or some sort of evaluation could choose which semesters to be reviewed for their teaching, to choose which semesters they could submit student evaluation results for. So there were those sort of broad university level recommendations that we made, but then more specifically for chairs, creating a caregiver supportive culture. We recommended reducing meeting times and mandating protected time for those who are caregivers. So not scheduling meetings during a time when someone might be feeding their kids breakfast. Can we set aside some hours as protected times that we won't schedule a meeting for a department? And then thinking about flexibility and scheduling, being able to document and account for invisible labor, to include emotional and affective labor, to think about how we can document and account for online teaching, especially when it was very new and we were all sort of just trying our best, as well as being able to document and account for work to advance issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So those were some of our top level recommendations. And then what we went on from there to do was to create this toolkit that would hopefully create an understanding about what it means to be a leader who creates culture that supports caregivers, and really thinking broadly about caregivers as well. We spoke to so many people in those listening sessions who were taking care of kids, taking care of parents, taking care of siblings, taking care of everybody in their family, and trying to do this kind of work. So really thinking broadly about what that means to support caregivers, and hopefully this toolkit really will get folks started with that. And we're going to also, we've scheduled a workshop to really talk people through this kind of process and to think about what this could look like practically. So Nancy, Dr. Kusmal is going to talk you through our toolkit a little bit.
Thanks, Cheryl. So I'm Dr. Nancy Kusmal. I'm a newcomer to this committee. I was on campus certainly during 2020 and 2021. I attended some of the sessions as a caregiver, and then was brought onto the committee just this year because my area of academic interest and research is I'm a social worker in older adults, and so I also brought up the perspective of caregivers for older adults and other family members and things like that from the academic side and the personal side. My COVID started with being home with my 3 kids and caring for my mother who lived out of town, who was very ill. So this all hit very close to home for me. And so in looking at the toolkit and talking about the toolkit starts with our rationale for, our definitions of what a caregiver is. And we use a very broad definition, a member of the UMBC community who tends to the needs or concerns of someone within their circle of friends or family who needs help. That person may be a child, an adult, an older adult with short or long-term limitations due to illness, injury, or disability. And caregivers manage the physical, emotional, and practical needs of another person while also managing their own life, needs, family, and career. And certainly this came out of that place when we certainly saw careers and family collide. And we found, as Oriane said, we found that while sort of those larger labor policies were great to know, a lot of where this culture started and ended was with the department culture and how supportive chairs were. And so we share with them in the toolkit some quotes from the listening sessions as to what it means to have a department with a high level of support, a department that provided some support, and then the example that Oriane mentioned with the people who don't even want to talk about being moms because they're afraid of being mommy tracked. So that hopefully people who use the toolkit can get a real sense of what this looks like for the people that are in their charge. We have 10 steps. We've boiled it down to 10 steps that departments can take to, in my mind, be a little more caregiving friendly than they were the day before, or that they were the semester before. And as Joe referenced, looking at things like scheduling and meetings, small changes, looking at current practices even, and then thinking about the ways that these can affect recruitment and hiring and retention especially for underrepresented faculty, women of color who experience some of these things exponentially in conflict with their work. We do give.
Sorry, I'm going to break in just real quick. We are over 10 minutes. That's what that alarm was. I want you to be able to finish, but I want all the other 4 groups to be able to have their time too. So just an acknowledgement of the time passing.
All right, then I'll give one more sentence and I'm happy to pass it on to the other groups.
Perfect.
And we finish it with examples and links to all of the legal considerations that chairs might need to know in terms of making a more caregiving friendly department. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Everyone is going to be thrilled to see this toolkit. Everybody who gets it, I promise. Okay, next. Thank you. I'm sorry I had to break in. I apologize. The first place Faculty Changemaker Award was earned by Gabrielle Cabral McNeil for New Moms. Gabrielle is the Senior Director of Employment and Academic Coaching for her team. And while this organization is a little outside of our usual awardees, we were so impressed by the organization or by the amount being provided to other students through this group. So please, Gabrielle, tell us about your work.
Absolutely. And thank you so much. We are really honored to be recipients of the MOMA Award this year. I'm representing my executive leadership team and CEO Laura Zundal as well. And I want to acknowledge all the participants and the amazing staff that I have at New Moms. You can go to the next slide. New Moms is by no means a baby organization, but our pilot is new. So we piloted this effort in 2022. And we believe that we can enhance post-secondary persistence and advancement towards certifications or associate degrees through this 3-year pilot with 25 young Chicagoland young moms. This program challenges those barriers and systemic racism that prevent many young moms from completing college degrees. Actually, in Illinois, only 8% of single moms complete an associate degree within the 6 years, compared to 60% of students without children. That's an astounding amount. And that's according to the Illinois for Women's Policy Research. And so this program was born out of an effort to address that disparity. We believe that intentionally and intensively investing in young moms and their children provide a strong return on investment to families and communities, leaning to more mothers of color graduating from post-secondary programs and working in family-sustaining living wage jobs. You may have heard of the Stockton Economic Empowerment Demonstration. An acronym for that is SEED. That was the nation's first mayor-led guaranteed income demonstration. So some key findings from that project and several others around the country gave that $500 camp that gave these families $500 cash transfers found that the recipients were healthier, they were happier, and it eliminated areas of financial scarcity, creating opportunities for self-determination, goal setting, and overall family well-being. So we also know that family supports or financial supports have positive impacts on child development. And so we're really here to step in and fill that gap. Our participants are getting $500 a month that really can provide the dignity and agency that our moms so deserve. Participants that achieve their goals more frequently and efficiently when their environments are just less stressful. And we know that we all be a little less stressed with more money, right? This is how our stipend supports are stepping in to support those moms. Our qualified participants are young moms, again, pursuing post-secondary opportunities or long programs. Technology, and of course that $500. And this project is also looking to simultaneously decrease stress and the environmental barriers that city living can bring and parenting can bring, and really provide some additional financial stability, social capital, and workforce skills that our moms are going to need to be successful as they move forward with their goals, particularly when it comes to academics. This is kind of the makeup of our academic coaching enrollment right now. Most of our moms, as you can see, are enrolled in city colleges of Chicago. Other moms, this little orange slice of pie, are other colleges that moms are enrolled in or around the city. That purple slice are the certification programs, and that blue slice, I'm proud to announce, are our graduates thus far, a year into the program. New Moms is really rooted and grounded in brain science-based strategies. And we have seen the positive impact of these strategies on young moms' feelings of belonging and connection, economic mobility, and overall family well-being. Additional emergent research indicates that holistic student supports, including that key element of financial support, is one of the most effective ways to improve persistence and outcomes for low-income students. So our measures of success are going to indicate whether moms are meaningfully engaged in making progress towards their associate's degree. So we will come out with like a white paper and findings in 2025. So something to stay tuned for. But since the program is in its pilot year, the emphasis from this initial evaluation will be on process learnings, continuous improvements, such as program fidelity, training of the coaches, our participant feedback, and compilation of the statistics about program progress led by Chapin Hall out of the University of Chicago. They're going to conduct a formative evaluation and analysis and qualitative data, and they're going to present those findings that will be publicly available again in about 2025.
Can I pause? I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
I just saw something that said the video is gone.
Well, no, I turned off the camera because the internet feed was shaking.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I just wanted to make sure we hadn't totally lost the
Oh,
video.
I'm still here. Beautiful.
Restart.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
No problem.
I just,
Sorry, Gabrielle.
No problem.
I made that mistake this morning. I wasn't attending to the chats and I really let some things.
No problem. As long as they can hear us.
We're fine.
Yeah, no problem. My last point was just the evaluation of the project will really help directly inform the fields of post-secondary persistence and workforce development for opportunity for young adults, particularly in Chicagoland area. And we just look forward to continuing the national conversation of how cash supports can really bolster degree attainment and stability for young families. Thank you.
Okay, next, and Maria, please just correct me, but I tried to listen to your pronunciation today. I think I have it right. Maria Collier de Mendonça. Is that close? Hopefully, I don't know. Anyway, Maria is here with us, and she's going to be speaking on behalf of her project for the Federal University of Pernambuco in Brazil. She works as a tenured communication professor at her university and leads the extension project, Mothering, Media, and Childhood, which she was also helped in by her colleagues Carolina and Rodrigo, who are a huge part of the project. This project won the second place Faculty Changemaker Award, and I'm excited to hear more about their program and its successes.
Thank you very much, everybody. We are very happy to be here tonight with you. I'd like to say our university is totally funded by the government, so it's a free of tuition university. And we began this project during the pandemic and the social distancing time. Everyone was at home with no infrastructure, and we started as a collective power in a very critical moment, because besides being at home in the pandemic and very lonely and doing everything that Oriane was telling about in a pressure time, we also had to deal with a very difficult government. The Bolsonaro's government, very difficult for the science and the university in Brazil. So the project has emerged to create a space for cultural change. During the first year, we did everything from home, 7 lives on YouTube and 12 podcasts and radio programs that we recorded from home at our cell phones. Then we came back to campus. And this project, since it's an extension project, we work with the students, professors, the university and society to talk about relevant issues in teaching, research, and extension activities, to give visibility to difficulties and challenges for inclusion, permanence, and progress of mothers in the university, and also to talk about media and how mothers and children relate to media. And the university is very much focused on the inclusion for low-income and minority students at the higher education level. 50% of our students come from low-income families, Black and indigenous backgrounds. This is important to tell you because the technology was an issue in the first year. Can you please change the slide? Next one. The Brazilian educator Paulo Freire worked at our university. That's why our radio station is named after him. So our programs are aired in the Paulo Freire University radio station. And our students work as social media designers, radio program and podcast presenters, producers, and they become social new agencies of public communication. We also broadcast the programs live on YouTube, and the project has recently reached more than 700 followers on Instagram and more than 200 likes on Facebook. And if you count the live we did on YouTube, have already more than 1,000 views. Can you please change? Next one. This is our team, and we did an exhibition this week on March 8th to celebrate, to communicate, I mean, to visualize all the difficulties that mothers are feeling at the university. Can you please, next one, Nicole? In December, we did the first meeting because we came back to campus in September last year. So we reoccupied the radio studio and start broadcasting live. And then in December, we decided to meet the mothers in person at the campus to understand, to listen to them like Orion did. And we were very touched by what we learned from them. So we say, okay, we need to visualize what they feel and their narratives. And we decided to do an exhibition that was inaugurated this March 8th because it's the International Women's Day. So you can move to the next one. I'd like to share with you some issues from the exhibition. We asked mothers in the meeting how they feel about being a mother at the university. And they told us they are very lonely, very unsupported. And this meeting was the first time they were listened and they could share their experiences with us and with other mothers. And the key issues were related to judgment and lack of empathy from the community, physical and psychological stress, and lack of daycare. So they also told us that being at the university was sort of a resistance act. And they were proud of themselves. They feel hope because they were there to offer better future possibilities to their kids. I'd like to show you the tree we put in the exhibition now. We did 2 trees. Can you please put in the next one? This is the difficulties and challenges tree. This is a big tree that we put in the art gallery. And you can look at what they told us here, some of their feelings. They can't read everything. They feel they will perform worse than other students. They feel they're always negotiating, feeling very overwhelmed, and everything that came up. We put the keywords, the most recurrent ones in this tree. And next to this tree, we did not want to show only the problems. We put the other green tree. Can you please put the next one? With the good things, the motivations, for example, being empathic with other mothers, changing the reality, making a dream come true, wishing for a revolution, being a role model to my kids because they feel proud of themselves when they show the kids they are studying. And then we did also invited students who are artists to participate in the exhibition. And we did a report that was delivered to our rector and vice rector in the inauguration this Wednesday. Can you please change it? Next one. So the exhibition is entitled "The University is a Place for Mothers." And we inaugurated it in the Center of Arts and Communication, and the narrative in the main corridor where there is a bigger circulation of people. We put lots of verbalizations, like what they told us, their narratives, in a lot of posters. And when everybody goes to classes, they go through the corridor and they see other narratives. It's very interesting because then we can visualize what they told us. And then we invited the academic community and policies makers to to the inauguration, and to reflect upon the motivations, the difficulties, and the challenges reported by mothers in the meeting we did last December. But besides talking about the problems and difficulties, we did a list of 30 suggestions for policies to support mothers at the university that have been already in discussion in other federal universities in Brazil, because Brazil has 70 universities that are like us. They're fully funded by the government. And there is a movement that came up during the pandemic of groups or work groups and collective of students, like unions, that are mothers, that they are getting together and requesting new policies. So we put this list and delivered the report to the dean this week. And we think that understanding the problems and the motivations related to being a mother at our university is the first step to sensitize our academic community and to start a new conversation with the students, the professors, and the workers at the university. And we are very happy to have started it. And we thank you for this award. I'd like to show the pictures right now. This is the next slide. You can see the picture. This is the director holding the baby of a worker. Juliana is the worker, and she got the baby to the ceremony. And then there is the corridor I was talking about. When you walk through it, you see lots of narratives, and we also put some data on it, because there is a big group in Brazil that's called Parents in Science, that they do research, quantitative research, to understand the productivity of mothers. And then they say that after the kid is born, it takes 5 years to recover the same level of productivity to mothers who are scholars. So some data like this one, like for example, 1 out of 10 students in undergraduate level here in Brazil have kids. So these sorts of data and the narratives were exposed in the posters. And the artwork, I think the next one shows some artwork. Yeah, this is Leticia. She's a student at the visual arts department. And on the left, you can see it's an art that's a collective group from the University of Brasilia, the Brazilian capital. They did it, and I think this is wonderful because it's different bodies, and the head is burning like we felt in the pandemic. And there is lots of data written on the top of the image. And then they are doing lots of activism in Brasilia, art activism, these mothers from the university. Okay, I don't know if there's another one or if this is the last one. I guess this is the last one. Thank you very much. We can show more. If you go to our Instagram, you'll see more about this exhibition. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. So next we're going to go to the Student Changemaker category. And so our first place award, here, let me go ahead and move that. Our first place award went to Amy Guerrero and Esther Ramirez at California State University, Northridge. I apologize for mispronunciations.
No worries. Thank you so much. We're honored to be here with you all today. Thank you to the whole IMS team and Cindy Fu for the nomination. Esther and I actually met through a common mentor who connected us when she realized that we both wanted to make positive systemic changes for parenting students within our institution. So we co-authored the Parent Scholar Project, a virtual space for parenting students and allies proposal that was fully funded for this academic year by the campus quality fee. And the campus quality fee is provided by students within our institution. So they actually pay this as part of their enrollment fees. From that funding, we birthed the Parent Scholar Resource Center, which operates virtually via Canvas page, which is one of the platforms used for online programming. So within the Canvas page, parents, students can self-enroll. They receive tailored announcements and access information about resources available in and around our campus community. We also host a weekly virtual hub where parenting students can connect with other parenting students and representatives from CSUN and community resources available to them within one space. In addition, we provide some free school supplies, loan out course textbooks, while actively working with other parenting students and receiving feedback through Zoom calls, surveys, or in person, and during programming opportunities. As you see in our slide, we have QR codes that can be used to reach out to us. And the background picture, it's actually a picture of our first cohort for the mentoring program, which is what my colleague is going to talk more about now.
Thanks, Amy. So this particular project involved a virtual hub space for parenting students, and it involved a peer mentorship program for parenting students as well. So the picture that you see up there is our first cohort, and we made the connection in our proposal that parenting students experience significant more academic stress because of their dual roles as parents, as mothers, and also students. And so looking at the scholarship, we wanted to provide an experience within our campus that reached out to parenting students to provide a community. And so through our proposal, we proposed that a mentor program would also provide a space for parenting students to have a community, a shared space where they can talk about their experiences, share resources, connect with one another, and then be able to take that knowledge and that community knowledge and share it with other parenting students that came behind them. And so our mentorship program is based on the foundation that when you have a mentor, when you have a peer mentor on your side as a role model, it actually improves the persistence for parent scholars. So it reduces the amount of sit-out semesters. So if any of you work with parenting students, there's a yo-yo effect to enrollment, and so the mentorship program was intended to address and reduce some of those sit-out semesters and include positively impact the persistence. And we just launched our second cohort last month, and I'll summarize just the impact that this is having in our first year pilot. This is the first year we're piloting this. One of the mentees who then applied to become a mentor this semester said, she's a senior, and she said, this is the first time in my academic career that I finally found a place where I belong. And so I think that sort of impact of what our program and what our intention is really activating was confirmation for us to know that we're on the right path to understand the experiences of parenting scholars, but also to make sure that they have a community of belonging during their college experience, and that there's a holistic approach to understanding their needs and making it possible for them to succeed, not just for them, but for their families. So thank you very much for this amazing award and recognition, and we're hoping to take this back to our campus and be able to continue the work that we started this year.
Okay, and last but certainly not least, we would like to hear from Dr. Jebinessa Chipola, who is I think people in Canada say SHIRK. It's a SSHRC postdoctoral fellow at the University of Regina, Saskatchewan, and contract faculty at the University of Mount Royal, Calgary, Canada. She received a second place in the Student Changemaker category for her work as a breastfeeding activist when she was a graduate student. Jebinessa is a settler of color woman who is trained as an anti-racist, decolonial feminist educator and practitioner. So please tell us about your exciting work and its successes.
Thank you so much for this recognition. And Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for this recognition. I'm a mother of 3 daughters. My daughters are here with me. This is Tuna. She is 15 years old. This is Prakriti. She is 14 years old. And this is Prithivi. She is only 4 years old. And during my doctoral journey, my 3rd daughter, she born, and recently I have graduated. I convocated in November 2022 from University of Saskatchewan, and in Treaty 6 territory, Saskatoon, I lived there for 10 years, where I have written my PhD dissertation, and I'm a community activist who worked with University of Saskatchewan Community Garden, community radio, and also I'm an artist, I'm a singer and cultural performer. So last 10 years, actually, it was overwhelming to raise 3 children, and my partner, he was also a graduate student, and to engage with the stolen Indigenous land here in Canada as a newcomer woman, it was not easy. But I would say that my children are my inspiration, and the community activism that I was engaged with, it was my inspiration. And at the beginning, honestly, I was not sure that how I'm going to translate these informal learning knowledges. And when I have taken a positionality to engage myself with this social activism, and also to bring this knowledge into the academia as a mother, it was so empowering and it was so inspirational. And I never imagined that I will share this knowledge today in front of so many academics and too many mothers. Inside of my heart, actually, it's shaking and goosebumps. And but I'm very proud today as a mother. And I would like to say all the mothers that children are not our barriers. They're always our inspiration. We moms, we need this kind of platform. I mean, the way this conference organized all the mothers together, it's unique. And I truly appreciate for giving me this recognition. And also, I would like to say that since I was involved with the community garden more than 10 years, so my activism was also centered that the community garden, it is not a space only for enjoying the fresh organic harvest. Community garden, it is a place for mothers. Like when I used to work with the community garden, around the community garden during summer, I used to breastfeed in that arena. I used to take care of my daughters there. And also I found that my community garden was a childcare. Because, you know, as an international student, I couldn't afford childcare, and I couldn't afford fresh vegetables from the market. So this community garden, it gave me a new horizon of knowledge and exposure. And the community garden, I used to work with other mothers. It was, I learned that it is a process of community building, and it is a space for women's empowerment. And it was an open learning space for many cross-cultural women. And our community garden, it taught me many environmental education, and it was a space for collective work. It was a place for cross-cultural sharing, food security, food sovereignty, and reduce our dependency on market. And the way we were networking with all the BIPOC community people or newcomer women, it was amazing. And knowing the story of the food and building bridges between indigenous and non-indigenous people, all these opportunities I have received from this community garden, campus community garden. So it's, you know, that's my PhD work. So I'm pretty sure that I might take 1 hour or more than that, but I'm not going to do that for sure. So, tomorrow, 9:30 a.m., I'm going to present my work. So I'm inviting everyone to join my talk. And thank you so much again for this recognition. I'm so grateful on behalf of all the mothers, all the women of color. Thank you.
So in addition to this fantastic work, Debbie Nessa is also our new chair for the Women of Color Affinity Group for IMS. So I do hope. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And I do hope that people will reach out and start meeting together, probably in virtual spaces, but start meeting together around that. So at this point, when we were originally planning this panel, we for sure wanted to give people a chance to say the thing they forgot to say. And so we're gonna do our second round. It's gonna be much shorter, but we are gonna hear like from Diana, for instance, up here. But what did you leave out? What do you feel like is your last thing that you really would like to get in? And then at that point, what I think we'll do is we'll move to a Q&A. But I would say at that point, if people want to feel comfortable moving around a little bit, as long as it's quietly, I think that would be fine. But let's go ahead and wait for, I'm going to go back through super fast. And I'm just going to show, one slide per place. And also, Oriane, I'm sorry, I'll show the correct slide for your group. I apologize for that. But let's start with going clear back to the first place in the, oh my gosh, why can't I find it? The first place university level award, I'm so sorry. And let's hear from Diana again about what we've missed so far.
Yeah, so I think originally the question we had was what people could take from today to trying to do something similar wherever you are based. So the core doctoral studies program has many aspects, and some of the aspects are listed there on the slide. And if you want more information, by all means, go to that QR code and find out more, and we'll be happy to answer questions. However, if I was to think about what is really at the core of the program, and I distill the essence that makes the success of the program, it really comes down to 3 ingredients, which is community building, flexibility, and responsiveness. So in terms of the community building, we're building at different levels. The first one is when we bring, as Melissa said earlier, the groups, we start a cohort together at the start of the journey. And by doing that, we build straight away a support network for them. And so that help normalize the experiences that they have throughout their journey. Then it also prevents that sense of isolation that develops for students that do research studies. They do it part-time, they are not on campus while they're working in parenting. So that helps them there as well. We also have the building of the community with the mentors. So the mentors are all of us are there to support them, and we really we work collegially in a way where we pull all our expertise, so our research and academic expertise, but also our personal experiences as women in academia, and we use that to support them. And we always say we are the friendly go-to academics that they can come and talk to in a safe, friendly environment and non-judgmental environment. So that helps them when they have a difficult situation to come, they know they've got someone to go and talk to. And then we build that even further because we want them to still be part of the wider community of the university. And so we facilitate the linking with really key people in the university, such as the librarians or the statisticians, or even key admin people that they have to communicate with to navigate the system. And finally, putting them all together, as Melissa mentioned earlier, it helps them develop their skills through peer learning and collaboration. And there are some statistics there that attests to that. So the second key factor is the flexibility. So we've heard for the last 2 days that all mothers in academia face a lot of challenges. And we call them challenges because they are difficult to navigate and manage. However, we don't see them as that, and we don't consider them as challenges. We see them as part of life. When you start a PhD, as Melissa was saying before, especially for most of our students that are part-time, it's a 5, 6, 7-year journey, and life is going to happen in the middle of that. And so whenever a big event, life event happens in the life, instead of going, oh my goodness, that's the end for you. You can't carry on with your studies. We go, okay, no, let's sit down and let's discuss this. And what can we do to navigate this? And it might mean that in some cases we say, well, look, given the time that you have and the resources, perhaps your project needs to change. And we help them think of how to change their project to make it more manageable. Or it might be that the event really requires them to step back from their research for a little while. And so we often have this conversation that maybe you need to take a leave of absence. But what we do is, when you're part of court, you're part of court forever, basically, and you can't leave. That's not us saying that, it's the students saying that. And so we have conversations with them about that, but we say, even though you might be taking a leave of absence from your studies, we're still here. You can still engage with the cohort, which means that they still stay connected with their studies, which means that they're more likely to return to their studies and complete their studies ultimately, which is what we want them to achieve. Excuse me. And then the third one is the responsiveness. Sarah, who nominated us for this award, thank you, Sarah. She's one of my mentees. I've been working with Sarah for a long time. It's that we have a scaffolding of the program, which Melissa started. But within that scaffold, we really are responsive to the needs of the students. So we constantly seek feedback from our students. Every activity that we undertake with our students, we ask them for feedback. So we know where we can try to improve. And sometimes it's not always possible to incorporate everything, but we try to incorporate everything. And the best example is, and we all have gone through that, is going through COVID. Through COVID, we've had to, someone used this word this morning, I don't like using it, but it's really a good word for this instance, is we had to pivot to everything that we were doing. And we all of a sudden had to use Zoom, which was great because we had mums that could not attend and they were there. And I think we've got that example of one of our students who was in Zimbabwe attending our cohort block weeks during the night and with baby on her arms, and then we saw beautiful sunrise in the background. So yeah, the feedback is about everything. We connected with all our students individually to see how this COVID was going to affect them, what were the needs at that point in time. We organize extra workshops about resilience, about finding a plan B, because things could not be happening the way they had been planned in the first place. And even Sarah herself last year suggested, oh, maybe we should have a workshop, especially for mothers to connect. And Melissa and I, who are both mothers, were very happy to accommodate that. And it was I think, a joyful experience for all of us. So I think really anybody who would like to start a program like that, of course, our program has been running for now 11 years, and it's very well developed and it continues to develop. But I think it's possible to start with those same 3 key ingredients, something small, and grow it from there. And really for us, it's that bespoke touch that we think makes the cohort program so successful. And for us is what all our health professional students talk about always, patient-centered care. Well, we are student-centered care. That's how we function.
So I especially want to give Nancy another chance to speak, because I know I stopped you, but one or two or three more points from the UMBC group, faculty caregiving.
Well, I don't want to steal Oriane's thunder, but I think the biggest thing that we want people to know is that it's really important to listen to what the caregivers need. I mean, this toolkit is really straight from our experiences in listening to the struggles of our caregivers, and often people whose voices are not heard, and even heard less than, maybe other people who don't have kids because they are busier and maybe on campus less, or maybe less plugged into other supports and resources. And so listen, and in our case, having an administration that was there with us and willing to listen was, invaluable. So
Amazing. Yes.
And thanks, Nancy. That was, and you did not steal my thunder. I only have I'll sort of just go a little more global, about culture change, and so, we, I mean, it's kind of like, where do you start, right? There's so many things you want to work on, and the best thing to do is that you just do what you want. Like this showed up, and we knew we needed to support caregivers, but systemic change has a domino effect, right? And you never know where it's going to end up, and so I think just that's a very positive thing, right? So for us, we did that. Then other things have taken place in the university. We struggled to think about how to help, how to make visible invisible labor, which is mostly, women and, and minoritized faculty, with their mentoring and all this and that. And that has been there was a proposal that now we have to, reward and recognize and reward DEI efforts in promotion and tenure. And then now there's a new mentoring section in our faculty annual report, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's these ripple effects, so you put things out there, all of us, and, and there's the other good things will take place. So that's, I guess, the message that I would want to share as well, that culture change can happen, and you just start where you start with what you have, and then bring others into it. So that's all I have. I don't know if Joe has anything, or maybe, I'm conscious of the time, so I wanted to, I want to hear everyone else's. So
thank you. I appreciate that reminder. We start where we are. We do what we can. Gabrielle.
Yeah. I think I'll say that brain science tells us that neural pathways are strengthened when we become new parents. And so that's a time to really lean in. And so the question is, well, why don't moms lean in during that time? We know that mothers, especially new mothers, are one of the most imaginative and creative beings on the planet, but they aren't leaning in because of all the other things that we all alluded to, right? Parental stress, feeling lonely, feeling unsupported. So in building programs like this, it's important that we build in those supports. And if it's not cash money, how can it be mentorship? How can it be partnership? How can it be resources and referrals to support young moms when they are dealing with, having to have a tough conversation with a professor, or needing just a couple of hours to study without, having to care for the baby during that time, right? So what are some ways to really build in supportive services for moms so that they can persist?
Okay, slide through. All right. How about Maria and her team? Any final thoughts?
I'd like to talk about, when we talk about extension in Brazil, we have three issues to talk about. We have the research production, which we are trying to open space to talk about motherhood and mothering as research issues, and also as childhood and media issues that has to do with media literacy, for example. And then we also have the idea that extension has to do with the community. So we in Brazil, we have this big structure of almost 70 federal universities, and they have different managements. Each one is managed by a rector. And we are trying, because there's already a policy, for example, for low income, for African Brazilians, and there is no policies that's a national policies under the Ministry of Education addressed to mothers. This is our dream. And when we talk about this project, there's a lot of affection. It got bigger than it was thought before. Our action plan, this exhibition was not previously planned. when we listened to the mothers, we came up with this idea and we did it last week. So it's now I think the key challenge for us is the next steps. The rector and the management and the community is reacting very well. However, I think how big the project will be is my question now. You know, we need to do it like you were talking, like I don't remember everybody's name, but we are talking about how can you manage, you know, this is a change process. So I think this is the key issue now, how to manage this cultural change, implementing practical policies, you know, to the daily life that can change. Because in Brazil, since the federal universities have this very democratic structure, but also very bureaucratic structure, we will need lots of conversations. And I think this is the next step. I think this is what I need to sum up. The idea of how to manage the new dialogue that we try to open, now it's open. So, you know, this is the key challenge. What to do. We will figure out.
Okay, how about if we go to Amy and Esther now?
Yeah, so I think our work heavily was focused on centralizing the student parent voice, right? When I was in undergrad, I definitely thought like I was the only mothering student on campus, and I was fairly young. I was 20 when I became a parenting student. And when I came back for my master's after a 7-year gap, I definitely thought, okay, there's no way I could be the only parenting student. So I set out to look, okay, what are the resources that are provided now? I didn't find too much. However, I did come across a great university counseling support group called the Parenting Support Group, which our host of this group is actually on the call. Thank you, Marilyn Mendoza, for being here. She's actually also our faculty advisor for our Parent Scholars United, which is the first student parent-led org established on the CSUN campus, and we just turned a year. And we do have some PSU members in the room, as well as our president for Parent Scholars United, Melissa. Thank you for being here. So going back to seeing what was available, we realized that there was some things that were available. However, they were extremely decentralized. And during the support group, we were able to talk amongst each other and really talk about how we're kind of experiencing similar things, but also realizing that it's extremely hard to navigate on our own, and how we needed more support within our institution. So before the pandemic, we were in person. The support group was meeting in person, and of course, attendance, it was very hard because there was no sporadic care provided by our institution. So only 1 or 2 of us were able to show up at a time, maybe even sometimes 3, but rarely. When the pandemic hit, this group was able to start meeting virtually, which made such a big difference. We were definitely growing in numbers, and then came about this call for this proposal. And when we were funded and started the Canvas page, we realized that our numbers started to grow quickly. I mean, we are at 100 students now, and we're still seeing an increase of not only students within our Canvas page, but also within the parenting support group provided by the University Counseling Services, as well as interested members for the Parent Scholars United org. And so it's been such a great opportunity for us to not only talk amongst each other and really keep doing the work all together as parenting students, but also make a big difference within our systemic issues and changing some of these barriers that are happening. I'm gonna go ahead and hand it off to Esther because she's gonna continue the conversation. You're on mute, Esther.
So just Just a quick plug for relationship building on campus with doctoral students or graduate students. The work that Amy and I have done on this project is the result of intentionally creating allies in our faculty base. And so as Amy was looking for resources, trying to understand what's available for parenting students, I went and made a really intentional effort to talk to faculty, as many as possible, to try to understand whether or not they were aware of parenting students in their classes. And many of them, during the pandemic said I was unaware. I didn't really know that such and such student was a mom until they started breastfeeding, right, on camera. And so, or they would say, I need to turn off my camera so that I can breastfeed. And so I think anecdotally, our faculty, the pandemic really exacerbated the awareness for faculty to know that they had parenting students in their courses, and they were surprised to know that they were more than what they had anticipated. And so just a plug for faculty to dedicate some time, dedicate some space and intentionality to really understanding the student population, and understanding that the student population has already shifted. So the numbers of parenting students, right, and preaching to the choir is quickly increasing. But we operate again in institutional systems that were not designed for them. And so just a note of encouragement to reach out, to gain awareness, and to lend your support, especially to doctoral students like Amy and myself who are researching. Thank you.
So sorry. Sorry about my slide finger, but I just wanted to remind everyone that I will send this slideshow that has all these QR codes, so you can check out everyone's programs. And again, last but not least, Debbie Nessa, how do you want to send us off today before there might be any questions?
As I told you before that I'm a woman of color. My previous degrees I have earned from Bangladesh, Sweden, and Norway. I have earned my degrees in sociology, social work, and gender and development. But when I moved here in Canada as a newcomer woman in 2010, I couldn't pursue my social work degree. I couldn't be a licensed social worker here in Canada, and that gave me so much frustration. And that time I was a breastfeed mom. I just moved with my two daughters. They were just 1.5 years apart, and they were born in New York and New Jersey. I still can remember that when I was giving birth, my first daughter, I had no relatives. I didn't have any extended family members here and no friend, just as a newcomer. So what I had to do, and my partner, he couldn't manage my daughter to stay at home, and nurses allowed my daughter to come to my labor room, and she was screaming in the corridor, and I just couldn't give birth. I mean, I didn't have that time to give birth my second daughter. So what I had to do, my first daughter, she was on my chest, and I had to give birth my second daughter. I was pushing the baby. So that was terrible situation. But when all of those, difficult situation as a mother that I faced, and when I came as a newcomer in a new land and new country, I realized that, it's again another challenging situation that I was dealing with. And when I was living in University of Saskatchewan campus, I never dreamt to pursue my doctoral studies, because more than 5 years I was a homestay mom, and I was nurturing these two children all by myself. And but that time I got connected with so many mothers on campus, and I used to listen to everyone's every mother's story. I mean, whatever in my capacity, I used to listen. So from my entire motherhood, or for my newcomers journey and doctoral journey, what I have learned that women needs to be women needs to support each other, and also we need to listen. We need to listen each other's story, and also women should never give up organizing things. So I know that it's very tiring, very draining, very hard, but I mean, women are the people, right? They're the hope of this planet, that they are organizing one after another community events. And also I would say that as a mother, I got connected with all the mothers in my community through community engagements, through community activities, for example, community garden, community radio, and cultural activities. So what I want to say that please never give up to build community. And also please, if it is tiring even, try to go out and try to find your own group of people and keep sharing. Always keep creating women's sharing circle, and always try to be an ally with indigenous people. During my entire doctoral journey, I think I have written big pieces in my dissertation that how indigenous people inspired me to be bold and to bring this breastfeeding activism openly, because it's so natural. And always I have learned many important things from our indigenous mothers and sisters, which we have forgotten. Maybe it's because of our colonized education, or maybe because of colonized system and also neoliberal system, but I didn't know how to challenge. I didn't know how to decolonize my own thoughts even. And I was afraid of talking. I was afraid of going out. I was afraid of, challenging system. Definitely, that was me. But today I'm here. Today I can see that I'm not alone. So I just can't tell you that how much grateful I am to be here, to share this story and to share this space with all the mothers. You gave me a new life. Thank you so much again for giving me this opportunity to talk, and also recognizing this effort. Thank you again.
So yeah, I would invite anybody to, officially we have 5 minutes. So we have 5 minutes. And I've been told that the food and bar will be open till 7:30.
Yes.
So what are there questions from the virtual audience or from the home audience here? I know there was so much, we're just swimming in all this great information. But are there any questions you would like to ask? Yes, Katie.
So as I was listening to Melissa and Diana talk, and I was thinking, but throughout all the talks, like, how do we reframe motherhood as an asset? And I know Gabrielle and I have talked about, no matter, because we are in this very capitalist or production-oriented group, anything that takes away from what you are able to bring to the table, and yet motherhood is bringing something to the table, but it's not viewed that way. It's, I think, not traditionally, but currently viewed as you're now disinvested in what we want you to be invested in. Whereas I think almost everybody in this room thinks that motherhood brought more into their lives, more that they can share, more that they can give to. Yes, it does, of course, detract, but I think as a teacher, as a person, motherhood gave me more to give. So how did you sort of, as you were, perhaps for the folks that maybe felt resistance amongst administrators, well, the bottom line isn't justifying this, or how do you feel like we can reframe some of this so that we do see motherhood and parenting more broadly as an asset, even when it's not within the parenting paradigm?
Yeah, it's an interesting challenge, isn't it? I think platforms like this one, and really being able to show our achievements, to be able to put that out in front of the wall of the policy makers and the people who hold the purse strings. I think that's a really important thing to be able to achieve. And I think, so often we go along and we don't, as females, we're not really good at promoting what we do and our achievements. And I had one of my friends before I came away to Chicago saying, I didn't even know you won that award. And it was like,
And that you didn't have an interest in.
yes, and so it's I think as females we're not very good at pushing and promoting what we do, but I think the more often we do that and to show how important mothers are in contributing to society and you know how overlooked that role of raising the next generation really is. But you know, a lot more promotion, and you know, this is fabulous. I think every one of us that's won the award today will be telling everyone and promoting it more than we would normally do so that we can make a difference.
I see Amy has her hand up.
Yes, thank you. I think it's very important to be intentional in destigmatizing notions, right? That mothers can't be in academia because we're too busy or we can't handle it, or that mothers being students is not a possibility because they will eventually drop out or they cannot handle much of the work. All these stigmas come back around and really make us quiet within institutions. I know as an undergrad, I think I only once told my classmates that I was a parent. Of course, when I was pregnant, it was obvious that I was a pregnant scholar. But really it comes back to the stigma. There's a lot of students that do not self-identify until they feel safe enough, right? To not feel scared that they might be retaliated against, or as somebody else mentioned, mother tracked, right, within their institution. I think it's very important to go back to our institutions and really carry on the voices of mothers and parenting students within our campus and really highlight their voices. And it's important that we carry this work forward and continue to do the research and continue to advocate and create allyship within our own institutions.
Yeah, I'd like to everyone. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. I was gonna say, I have to agree with that. And I became a mother at 17 and a second time mother again at 21. And I think just my children were my purpose and the wind beneath my wings, if you will, and the things that I did and the pursuits that I had, and even some of the aspirations that that was part of my journey. And even diversified my community. It expanded my network. It did things that it may not have done if I wasn't a parent, right? And so really leaning into the strengths of how parenting really brings things possible, instead of looking at it as a deficit, all the things that you can't do. But what about the things that you can do, or the things that you are pursuing, or the connections that you are making because of your parenting journey, I think is where we should lean into.
Thank you. Yeah. Diana?
I was just going to add to what I think it was Amy was saying was those of us who are academics or in leadership roles, we need to role model and just make it more obvious that we are mothers and we manage to achieve things and that it's possible. And yes, there is that mothering sidetracking, you know, oh, well, if you admit that, but we can try to create a new path of saying, you know, taking that responsibility of saying, it's actually possible. You need the support, but we can support you. And it's possible because we did it, rather than saying, well, we did it, but we're not going to talk about it. And therefore it's still not possible for you. And then still kind of abiding by the convention that's the status quo currently. So trying to create that new path by being role models and supporting through that.
And we do as a very quick open call. We encourage anybody that is in a place of power and privilege within their universities to put on their CV, to put on any of their biographies that might be on a public website, that you are a mother. And that may be something that for very good reasons you do not want to do. But if you are in a place to do it, we encourage you to do it.
I would like to have Maria take us out of here with the last point, if that's okay with everybody. Maria?
Yeah, I'd like to say that Amy was talking about this thing about feeling safe here in Brazil. They really feel the need to speak and to have mental support like the mental health is an issue that's very important now to take care of, like they requested that, and other groups that I have been in touch and other universities here feel the same thing. They need mental support, they need health, they need a space to talk about, like a group that they can share their experiences, because this idea of feeling lonely, like she was talking about, is really recurrent across the globe. Here in this conference, I've heard that 3 times, and this is really impressive for me. Like the realities are very different in different countries, but mothers feel alone. And here you were talking about, Katie, putting on the CV that you are a mother. Here, the parent and science movement, that's very big and very important in Brazil. They did the movement Maternidade no Lattes. Lattes is the platform all academics have to put the CV on, especially us, because we work for public universities. So every mother now is adding, we are mothers, like to show we are academics and mothers. And even in the book that we edit about motherhood in the media, we asked every collaborator to add if she was a mother. And they did.
Thank you. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I thank you all so much for all of your time and attention and efforts. And with Katie and with our panelists, I want to invite anyone who has the power in their spaces to please amplify these voices and the voices of all mothers. And thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow.
That was good.
We did it. How does that feel?